Hello, good evening. This is Oman Adeki. Today we're going to go over another demo use case. In this use case, we want to talk about the general quality requirements that will be reviewed before a new component joins an organization. So the use case in this case is a partner application supplier wants to begin to communicate with an organization, and they want to be able to communicate like broker distribution requests between the two companies, right? You have a supplier company and you have a main company, and they want to flow critical customer request data using this application. Okay, so it's a new application that they want to introduce to the environments to two companies to allow them to communicate. So as part of a risk management process, it's a good best practice to stand up a provider risk attestation to say before we allow the organization to link with another organization in terms of flowing data between the two parties, would have to go through a general attestation. So in this case, we've stood up the key SOP steps to drive this kind of use case. So the first step is that we provide, as part of reviewing this new connection point, we're looking at some key things that we want to validate to say, all right, before we can begin to communicate, share critical business data, we need you to meet these general minimum requirements for safety, security, reliability, resilience. Okay, so the first is we want them to validate that their system or tools have a lower environment quality and a production environment to ensure quality. So we don't want a situation whereby people are connecting systems that are not properly developed, tested, and then we introduce the risk of error or breach. The second is with this new connection point, we want to ensure that if they're collecting any kind of sensitive data like customer information, we want to make sure that they have some basic privacy protections to ensure that the customer information is not sold or used for purposes other than which we've agreed to communicate data, right? This is a protection for the customer so that to ensure the privacy of the customer interactions and the transactions in this contractual relationship. Okay, so because if you have 2 points, point A and point B, if one point ensures level 5 privacy but the other point only validates level 1 privacy, then you can see it as both systems are now at level 1 privacy. So we have to ensure that the level of privacy on both systems matches to maintain the high level of quality. All right. So the third will be supplier has to sign a non-disclosure agreement. Of course, that's pretty standard. And then they have a cybersecurity awareness training for their personnel, right? And then they would have to provide the training documents and things of that sort. And backups are in place for production data. So now that you have two systems potentially working together, if at any point one system goes down and it has to be restored, this is the disaster recovery to ensure that we have a solution path to back up the data and to restore it in the event of any kind of adverse event. And last but not least, that the system has access control policies for identity. In other words, they're identifying, authenticating, authorizing the users accordingly. All right. So this is a very simple. So this is a summary of a risk attestation. It's used in many different types of compliance policies like high trust, HIPAA compliance, SOC 2 Type 2, ISO, GDPR. Many of those high-level regulations have recommendations or SOPs that reflect this type of thinking to ensure the highest level of quality and operations excellence. All right, so that's the design of it. And if we have to add it in additional items, we can just add it into the step. So I will save this, and then I've stood up the new application that we want to potentially connect to this test organization. We define the asset, define the code, the risk level I'll say is medium, and then you just simply submit it. All right. So as part of the exercise, you just come into the system, you select the application that's of interest. So this is the new application, target application. So this would be an exercise that the owners or the business owners, the leads in the organization will run through as part of the general attestation to ensure that they're meeting the requirements of the organization. And they can maybe perhaps run through this on an annual basis, maybe quarterly, depending on the level of frequency that's linked to the risk of the application. So they'll run through the flow, and here it spells out everything, provide lower environment, QA environment, and basically they have to attest for each of these key steps that we've met that requirement. And if there's any reason that they cannot demonstrate this, then that is an immediate halt, and they would have to remediate that issue before they can move on to onboarding and establishing the link between the two applications. All right, so the supplier signs the agreement, and if there's any need to attach information like evidences for each of these steps, the organization may want some evidence collection to say, here's the evidence that we've met these regulations, right? They can also attach documents as needed, and then they can attach it to the ticket, and it's all backed up in the system. All right. So I think we've talked about the technology, but this is one use case, especially when you're dealing with compliance regulations, risk-based regulations, cybersecurity, supply chain, OSHA compliance. It could be for safety of employees or workers or assets. It can be for a wide range of different use cases. We can feed into the system all the key data to mitigate the risk, so that we are tracking the areas of the highest exposure to risk. All right, so that's the end of the demo. Thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate your attention. I'm just going to pass all, and I will end the demo right away. You have a wonderful evening, and talk to you soon. Bye.